Nigeria. Claire Pierangelo.
They come to me because they know Lagos is listening.
I love the way you engage Nigerians, especially with these people who are called supremacist Nigerians. They feel they are more Nigerian than you and I.
We talk to the newsmakers.
The Special Assistant to the President on Digital and New Media, Tolu Ogunlesi. Frankenberg has just walked into the studio.
Yewande Sadiku. Yewande is the Executive Secretary of NIPC, the Nigeria Investment Promotion Council.
The Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Public Affairs, Mr. Ajuri Ngelale.
We talk to captains of industry.
She's the founder and CEO of Tomato Jos, one of Nigeria's biggest agro-industrial businesses. Her name is Naira Meta. He's been selected for Forbes 30 Under 30. His name is Inioluwa Aboyeji.
We talk to the experts.
He's the chief economist at Business Day. He's a big friend of the show. Also,
he's the head of the Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology at the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NIMR. Dr. Bamidele Waloko.
And we talk to you.
I found Mr. Usman through Hard Facts. He's a listener. He sent us a WhatsApp message when we were talking about the scanners at the ports.
Give me your afternoon and I'll give you the answers.
What options does the CBN have for the Naira? The central bank's tactics for maintaining the exchange rate and the forex supply have been in the news a lot. The latest round was, of course, sparked by the vice president's advice about reducing the gap between the official rate and the market rate. And that brings me to our big hard fact, today's big hard fact. According to SBM Intelligence, the gap between the Naira's official rate and market rate last month was 169 Naira. This is the widest gap since February 2017 and the third widest gap since January 2015. Of course, a big gap like that can be exploited by people who can buy low at the official rate, then sell high on the black market. Then there's also the question of what that low official rate is signaling, right, to investors. Now, you have supporters of the CBN's policy who say that letting the official rate meet the market rate would bring hardship to everyday Nigerians, right? But what I want us to do is talk realistically about what options the CBN has. What are the pros and cons of the CBN's options here? My guest is from SBM Intelligence. He's the head of research there, Ikemesi Effiong. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, good evening, Sandra. Thanks for having me.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be with you once again.
Lagos, of course, we want to hear from you. What questions do you have about the exchange rate and CBN's options? You can ask our guest. We're also going to have joining us later on the new editor-in-chief at Stairs Business on the other side of 5:30. But let's start with Ikemesi. The VP's position was quite interesting. He said, quote, "As for the exchange rate, I think we need to move our rate to be as reflective of the market as possible. This, in my own perspective, my own respective view, is the only way to improve supply. We can't get new dollars into the system where the exchange rate is artificially low," end quote. Now, Ikemesi, what's your take on his fundamental premise that keeping the official rate lower, higher than the market rate, will stop people from bringing dollars into the system?
Yeah, because like all markets, right? The market.
Ikemesi, hi. We suddenly can't hear you anymore. Hello, Ikemesi. Hello.
Hello, Sandra.
Ikemesi, can you hear us?
Yes, Sandra, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you very clearly.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome then. Okay, so as I was about to explain, the market for currencies, right, just like every market, operates on the fundamental idea of market incentives. So people have to trust and believe that a particular item is worth a certain amount of money, and they are comfortable purchasing that item at that particular price value in order for an exchange and then a transaction, right, to occur. And what for many market participants, especially, the big guns who, by the nature of their business, have the opportunity to earn in foreign currency, chiefly in US dollars, even while they operate in Nigeria. These markets right now and the incentives of the currency market with respect to the Naira right, is a fundamental disincentive. Basically, the summary of the last four sentences I've made is that many people in this market do not believe that the Naira is worth what the official exchange rate says the Naira is worth, and a truer value of where, the Naira's value is what you see at the parallel market. The CBN's prognostications and, pronouncements notwithstanding. And the Vice President's comments represents perhaps the most high-level admission by a Nigerian public official of a reality which market participants have known for the last 6 years, really.
There's been a back and forth about whether the VP was calling for a devaluation of the Naira. I don't want to get into the semantics, but if the CBN lets the official rate meet the market rate, doesn't that mean the official rate of the Naira will drop?
It does mean that the official market rate will drop, and that represents the textbook definition of a currency devaluation, really, where when the price of a currency, right, is allowed to fall vis-a-vis, some of its major currency peers. That's really the textbook definition of the devaluation. So, the Vice President's office, for political considerations, which are perfectly understandable, has been at pains to explain that what the Vice President wasn't calling for was for a devaluation. It was just calling for policies that would incentivize the more efficient allocation as well as the efficient supply of U.S. dollars. The fact of the matter remains, though, that in practice, the only way that is going to happen is if market participants think that the Naira is fairly and appropriately valued. And right now, many market participants do not think so. And the only way market participants will get to that point is if the CBN allows the Naira to get to that point, also known as a devaluation.
There's something I want you to explain. The VP said, quote, "I'm convinced that the demand management strategy currently being adopted by the CBN needs a rethink." So explain what is meant here by demand management.
Okay, so demand management basically refers to the CBN's policy over the last 5 to 6 years of rigorously policing the amount of items that Nigerian economic participants, so think businesses, think people when they want to travel abroad, right, or businesses if they want to buy, say a foreign input, or they just want to outright buy, a foreign good in its finished form. Which of those goods and services are worthy, right, of a US dollar or any foreign currency allocation by the central bank? So there are two ways in which you can manage from a policymaker standpoint. There are two broad ways, right, in which you can manage your foreign currency market. One, you can allow it be a free market. Economists tend to call that a free float. So what that basically means is that you allow the value of your currency basically be determined by forces that are external to you as a policymaker, and anyone can enter into the market if they've got, a pile or a stash of dollars to sell, and they can sell it to anyone really at any point in time. Wider economic developments, right, could also impact on the price of your currency. If people think that the development, say a natural disaster, a policy announcement, a new economic data announcement, right, fundamentally shift the needle economically, and people want to take positions on how they think your economy will do. Most major economies run a free float, the chief one being, the US dollar. Most currencies peg their value or measure their value, to the US dollar, because the United States is the world's preeminent economy, the biggest section of the global economy that there is, and Nigeria does that too. Or you can very, very tightly manage the value of your currency, and there are really two ways to do that. You can make it difficult for people to access, right, the foreign currency through which you measure your value. That is demand management. So you manage the demand for US dollars in the economy. or you can manage the supply, which is that, if you're able to get the dollars, you can use it for whatever it is you want to, and that's sort of like a more supply-side management. Most CBN administrations before the current one have adopted policy positions that emphasize the supply-side management a lot more. But what really changed, right, over the last 6 years was that, one, we shifted to a demand management policy model where the CBN was very particular about what you could use dollars for and how much dollars in many cases you can be allocated at any one time. And then secondly, and perhaps this is the most important and the most extensive effect that people have felt of the CBN's policies was that the list of things that were proscribed or prevented from Nigerian, economic actors accessing dollars for was radically expanded, right? First in 2015, and then, there have been consistent additions to what is now known as the Forex import restriction list. So basically, there are a wide sweep of items. There are almost 50 items through which you cannot access dollars, at least on the official market. The effect of that on the policy-making side was that was supposed to create a disincentive for people to even look for dollars, right? But what had happened over time, sort of an unintended consequence, was that it just transferred a lot of Nigerians who were able to access dollars at the official market rate through their commercial banks and by extension through the CBN to the parallel or the black market, like most of your listeners would know that market as being called. And for the last 3 to 4 years, anyone who wanted dollars for anything and it was going to be difficult getting it from a commercial bank, you could go to the parallel market. And, it wasn't always easy. You would encounter difficulties, time and again, especially if you're looking for huge volumes of dollars, say above $20,000, dollars. But you, in many cases, you would have been able, the black market or the parallel market would have been able to, to meet your demand. But what changed the game was that at the middle of this year, the CBN came out and said that the predominant participants that guaranteed dollar supply in the black market, right, the blue, the exchange, could not, had their supply, right, of dollars from the CBN constrained. And that's pretty significant, Sandra, because that particular supply to the parallel market was something in the order of $800 million a week, right? So the CBN basically turned off that tap practically overnight. And now, the BDC, right, are now facing the same challenges that many other Nigerian economic participants, have had to deal with for quite a while now, which is, where do we get the supply of dollars to be able to meet our commitments? And that's really where we are. So in a nutshell, that's demand management and sort of how it has been practiced in Nigeria up until now.
So you've talked about, the obvious advantage of demand management from what you've said is that it allows the CBN to reduce how much Forex is leaving the CBN's hands. Now, you've talked about some of the disadvantages. Are there other disadvantages of this demand management thing?
Yeah, so, on sort of a wider macroeconomic level, so sort of taking a more extensive economic view of it, which is really what the macroeconomy is. What having access to foreign currency, right, does is that, from a Nigerian perspective, right, global transactions are denominated in US dollars in many cases. The vast majority of them, at least, are denominated in US dollars. And if you're a Nigerian economic participant and you have a business or you're in manufacturing or you're in industry and a key input to the product or the service that you offer, right, requires you to import something from abroad, instead of you getting into a business agreement with someone in China or in Europe or in South America, right, in Naira, because in many of those countries, the Naira is not recognized, you effect those transactions in dollars. And what really demand management has done, away from, all of the talk which policymakers like to issue about how, people are taking money out of the country and how Nigerians need to learn to, to produce more of what, they need locally, which, are all fairly good points and, happen in some shape or form in the economy. But the real effect of demand management has been that many legitimate Nigerian businesses that require legitimate input for things which they would love to produce in Nigeria, but they can't source or get in Nigeria, at least at this time, have been hamstrung, and they've been very constrained in terms of, finding the the foreign currencies, necessary in order to effect those transactions. And so, there's been sort of that ripple effect on the economy. Manufacturing, for example, say for a couple of quarters has been on a steady decline in Nigeria since 2016. And, many economic theories will tell you that the fundamental bedrock of a modern economy is industrial manufacturing. And when whatever little manufacturing that we have in the country, right, is being erased because of, in part, so to be clear, the country's foreign exchange policies aren't the only reasons why some of these things are happening, but they are a key component. And when you try to solve, a problem and create a couple more problems while you're at it, then it really, brings up the particular issue about whether, the current, policy track, right, that we are pursuing is really the right one in the long term for the economy.
But if the CBN were to stop restricting access to Forex and let the market take as much as it wants, is there a risk of depleting the reserves? And if that happens, what are the possible effects?
Okay, so the short answer is yes, but with important caveats. Right, and why there's a risk that might happen is because of the way, the Nigerian foreign exchange market, right, is largely structured. So the government, through the CBN, has put itself in a position where it becomes the clearinghouse for foreign denominated transactions and foreign exchange, entering the country and leaving the country. And so because it has put itself in that position, and really the CBN has been in that position for a very long time. This is not new to this current administration or this current CBN. This has been the case, right, since the mid-1980s at the earliest. So because it has done that, the government has made itself the primary source of foreign exchange, and especially of U.S. dollars, right, in the market. But if you go back to what I said at the beginning of our conversation, right, any company or any organization which, by the nature of its business, can earn foreign exchange, can also, provide and supply foreign exchange. So there was something the CBN did, right about 2016. It created a window at the time when we had multiple parallel rates called the importers and exporters window. And basically, what the CBN tried to achieve with that window was to create a separate part of the market, like a smaller slice of the market, where exporters who sell to the wider global economy and earn in dollars can come to the I&E window and offer whatever foreign exchange, what dollars, pounds, whatever it is that they may have, at a rate which was higher, right, not by much, but higher than the official rate to anyone who wanted to import stuff into the economy, which was why it was called the importers and exporters window. What the existence of that window, admitted without saying was that there are other people in the Nigerian economy that earn dollars. So think about it. The fundamental way through which Nigeria earns foreign exchange, we all learned this from, economics in secondary school, is oil. right? So what that means is the multinationals themselves, even after they've taken care of their tax obligations and all of the various taxes and levies and charges which they owe the federal government, also have access to foreign exchange. And some of them are, have been known to be big participants in the foreign exchange market. Again, the challenge is that because of the way the pricing is tightly controlled by the CBN, there's a disincentive for them to bring forex into the market.
The country.
So yes, there's a risk, right, that the CBN might have to dip its hands into the
reserves,
the country's foreign reserves, right, in order to fund a free float market, right, which is why, as part of some of the things that we like to say at SBM, we say do not only let the Naira float, but fundamentally change the nature of the market so anyone can feel comfortable bringing in dollars. And there are Nigerian businesses who do huge volumes, right, in foreign currencies as well as Naira, right, and their obligations are regularly swinging between both currencies. And so for these Nigerian actors, they will always have needs. They've got Nigerian employees here in Nigeria that they've got to pay in Naira. They've got contractors and suppliers and, an entire ecosystem that they have to take care of in Naira. So these guys are not just earning foreign exchange just to sit on it for the fun of it. In many cases, they also need Naira in order to get the things done. The problem for them is if you think you can get more Naira at a higher price than what is currently prevailing in the market, you might want to ride it out for 2, 3, 4 months, which has basically been the behavior, right, for a few years now. So, yes, that risk does exist, but it only really exists because the government has made itself, judge and executioner, basically, in the foreign exchange market. And that needs to change so that, our petrol dollars, right, as well as our tax Nairas do not just, all get plowed into funding a market which a lot of Nigerians do not directly participate in.
Ikeme Sedefyong is the head of research at SBM Intelligence. Ikeme Sedefyong, it's always a pleasure to have you on Hard Facts.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you for your time. Don't go away, Lagos, because on the other side of 5 o'clock, after this break that we're about to go on, we're also going to be speaking with the editor-in-chief at Stairs Business. She's the new editor-in-chief of Stairs Business. Her name is Fadekemi Abiru. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say about the future of Nigeria's Naira. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Nigeria Info 99.3. We are your number one talk station. Don't go away.
This is an infomercial.
An American company in Lekki, Lagos is recruiting qualified sales representatives that own a car and a valid driver's license. Are you ambitious, hardworking? Do you have a great attitude? Are you ready to take your career to the next level? Here's an opportunity for you. Please call 0815 705 0505 or 0905 637 4258 to book for an interview.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this. Good things come in pairs like salt and pepper, bread and beans, sport and entertainment. Say what? That's right. Showmax Pro is bringing you the best of both worlds.
Everybody strap in. I'm about to open some windows.
Now you can watch live sport from Supersport.
In your life have you seen anything like that?
As well as movies, originals, award-winning international and local shows, plus kids shows when you sign up at showmax.com.
Would you like to win some money? Of course you do. Who doesn't like a win? Well, guess what? Your number one talk station, 99.3 Nigeria Info, will be giving out 100,000 Naira daily for the next 30 days. What do you have to do to win? Well, I guess you're going to have to stay tuned to find out. Every day for the next couple of days, 100,000 Naira will be giving out on the station. Stay tuned to find out how to win.
As a partner who shares your ambition, we understand what it takes to break barriers and expand your business. That's why we're excited to introduce the Smart Business Loan from Standard Chartered Bank.
With the SC Smart Business Loan, you can get up to 20 million Naira to expand your business. This is available to schools, manufacturers, retail and wholesale traders with no collateral needed. Smart Business Loan from Standard Chartered Bank is easily accessible. Simply contact your relationship Send an email to nigeriabb.products@sc.com or call 234-123-68475, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. workdays. To get started, visit www.sc.com/ng for more details. Standard Chartered Bank, here for good.
We've had many battles, we have won some wars, but in all our struggles, we have lost loved ones. It may be cloudy outside, but not for very long. We will surely see the sun, 'cause we know no matter the weather, no matter the tide, we go there together. We stand by your side. No yawa, no problem. Go fit stand to fight us. We go stand together. We go beat them down.
Do you want to become an investor or partner and a professional trader? Life Forex Nigeria is here to give you the knowledge and skills required to earn in the Forex market. So don't miss this opportunity to invest in yourself by signing up for our free classes where you can learn and make profits. With over 16 years in the market, Life Forex is the broker you can trust. Our affiliate program allows partners to earn handsomely even without trading. Life Forex operates a true ECN, where partners can also make money without trading. Our clients who are not skilled can use our trading robots and make profits too. Clients also will enjoy a tradable bonus on all their deposits. And kindly remember, trading is from Monday to Thursday from 12 to 2 p.m. and it's totally free. For more information about Light Forex, call 090-469-26481 or visit www.lightforex.com. Light Forex, your number one broker.
When you find out you're pregnant, it's like there are a million stretch mark products to choose from, but you trust other mothers. And that's how I discovered Bio Oil, and I'm still using it every day.
Bio Oil helps improve the appearance of scars, stretch marks, and uneven skin tone. Bio Oil is available in all leading pharmacies and shops. Bio Oil is also available online on Jumia on the Bio Oil official store. For more information, please contact Bio Oil Nigeria on Facebook. To identify original Bio Oil products, look out for the Sproxil, scratch, and text PIN. Bio Oil Skincare Oil is clinically proven as safe for its intended use by adults, including pregnant women. In the unlikely use of skin irritation, please discontinue use.
Are you a professional? Want to earn passive income?
ehandtech.com, Nigeria's fast-growing digital academy, is your plug.
Oh yes. On ehandtech.com, we provide digital classes to thousands of waiting students across the globe.
From any location.
Simply register today as an instructor to provide digital classes to thousands of students. You can review your course, track your earnings, know number of students signed up for your course, and interact through Q&A. Visit www.ehandtech.com/instructor or email info@handtechdigitalconsult.com.
Before now, getting a good HMO that works perfectly for my staff was a lot of hassle. Many HMOs come with cumbersome registration. It gets worse when my staff come back to complain about the terrible service they get from these HMOs. I decided to give Reliance HMO a try based on glowing recommendations I received from my HR colleagues, and I was not disappointed. I was able to register all 100 staff in 5 minutes. I have access to a 24-hour responsive helpline and an account manager that helps me with any issue. My staff raves about the premium service they receive from Reliance HMO. They especially love the access to gym, spa, dental care, and the hospital roaming. I no longer worry myself about issues concerning HMO. Reliance HMO does that for me. I will recommend them any day.
Visit reliancehmo.com/corporate or call 0700-7354-2623 to get a quote for your company and start enjoying reliable healthcare today. Reliance HMO. You can rely on us.
Better don't land, better don't show. Say you want invest, want save money or get loans, you want pay bills, recharge your phone, say na transfer, everything they on top SIM
extra hand to change a flat tire or small loan. At Kuda Microfinance Bank, we believe that your bank should do more than just store your money. We want to do more for you, so when you use your Kuda account to pay bills, buy airtime, and make transfers regularly, we'll offer you an overdraft, which is a low-interest loan that you can take anytime you need it. No long talk, no collateral, no paperwork involved. Just download Kuda on the Play Store or the App Store, open a Kuda account, and use it regularly to qualify for Kuda Overdraft. Kuda, free banking for you.
There's a place, a new place, where all your dreams can come true. There's a land, a new land, where success waits for me and you. Our city built on opportunity, like the great cities of before. Alara City, Alara City, our city built on opportunity, like the great cities of before. Alara City.
Alaro City, a city built on opportunity. Find opportunity, build it. Good things come in pairs like salt and pepper, bread and beans, sport and entertainment. Say what? That's right. Showmax Pro is bringing you the best of both worlds.
Everybody strap in. I'm about to open some windows.
Now you can watch live sport from Supersport.
In your life have you seen anything like that?
As well as movies, originals, award-winning international and local shows, plus kids shows when you sign up at showmax.com.
As a partner who shares your ambition, we understand what it takes to break barriers and expand your business. That's why we're excited to introduce the Smart Business Loan from Standard Chartered Bank.
With the SC Smart Business Loan, you can get up to 20 million naira to expand your business. This is available to schools, manufacturers, retail and wholesale traders with no collateral needed. Smart Business Loan from Standard Chartered Bank is easily accessible. Simply contact your relationship manager or send an email to nigeriabb.products@sc.com or call 234-123-68475, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. workdays. To get started, visit www.sc.com/ng for more details. Standard Chartered Bank, here for good.
Do you desire to be an IT professional? Are you planning on relocating to Canada? Get that extra CRS point and get employable status. Tag along with the British Computer Society, BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, and carve a niche for yourself in this digital age. BCS is Higher Educational Qualification, HEQ, has a flexible program which allows you to plan your studies over a timeline that suits you. BCS is recognized and accepted globally by academics, regulators, employers, and industry bodies for producing high-caliber IT professionals. That's why millions have chosen to launch their IT careers with BCS. You too can be one of them with a globally recognized qualification that sets you above your peers. Log on to www.bcs.org/Africa or call BNT on 080-8164-3524 or CompuNet on 080-6138-3235. BCS, the world has gone digital. Don't be left behind.
It's time to hear from the next generation of Nigeria Info listeners. You can win 1 million naira in the I Beg to Differ tournament.
Hosted by Sandra Ezekwesili.
Are you between 13 and 17 years old? Do you live in Lagos? Are your debate skills awesome? Then go over to www.nigeriainfo.fm and register for the I Beg to Differ tournament. Entries close on the 20th of October, 2021.
Everybody needs a little help every now and then. Sometimes it's sugar or salt or an extra hand to change a flat tire or a small loan. At Kuda Microfinance Bank, we believe that your bank should do more than just store your money. We want to do more for you, so when you use your Kuda account to pay bills, buy airtime, and make transfers regularly, we'll offer you an overdraft, which is a low-interest loan that you can take anytime you need it. No long talk, no collateral, no paperwork involved. Just download Kuda on the Play Store or the App Store, open a Kuda account, and use it regularly to qualify for Kuda Overdraft. Kuda, free banking for you.
Yo, so they call you a dance legend. One move, and you have their attention. Then,
shows, plus kid shows when you sign up at showmax.com.
Better don't land, better don't show. Say you want invest, want save money or get loans, you want pay bills, recharge your phone, say na transfer, everything they on top, see money, send money without stress, do better investment, 2% on every recharge, loan easy access, send money without stress, do better investment, 2% on every recharge, loan na easy access, see money, see money, see money, see money, see money.
See Money app is an initiative of Touch Gold MFB and powered by Creditville. Download now.
Mommy Shade, this child looks sickly. Try and take her to the hospital. I wish I could, but the expenses are too much. Don't tell me you have not heard about LSHS Ilera Eko. Ilera Eko? What is that?
Oh, yes! Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA, has designed an affordable and quality healthcare scheme for Lagos residents. Ilera Eco, at your convenience, you can have access to antenatal, delivery, immunization, management of hypertension, diabetes, and other illnesses, family planning, and basic emergencies. Register with Ilera Eco branded agents and at the nearest Ilera Eco branded outlets. Pay 40,000 Naira annual subscription for a family package or 8,500 Naira for an individual package and start to experience peace of mind. For more information, call 0700 Ilera Eco or 0800 Ask Lashma or visit www.lashma.com. Ilera Eco, affordable and quality healthcare for Lagos residents.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. What options does the CBN have for the Naira? It's 5:42 right now. And if you just tuned in, let me remind you we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. Nigeria Info 99.3. YouTube is Nigeria Info FM. And of course, you can listen online wherever you are in the world via nigeriainfo.fm, www.nigeriainfo.fm. We're joined now by Fadekemi Abiru. She is the new editor-in-chief at Steers Business. Fadekemi, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Sandra.
Lagos, of course, if you listened to the first 25 minutes of our conversation on the show, you heard from SBM Intelligence. And we talked about the VP's position. We talked about the back and forth, about whether the VP was calling for a devaluation of the Naira. We talked about the VP talking about demand management. The VP here is, of course, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. And then we talked about the advantage and disadvantage, or advantages and disadvantages of demand management. And then we talked about, what could happen if the CBN were to stop restricting access to Forex, right? And then allow the market to take as much as it wants, right? Is there a risk of depleting the reserves, right? And if that happens, what are the possible effects? Now, Ikemesi Young from SBM Intelligence, the head of research at SBM Intelligence, gave us his answers. But I'm very curious to hear what you think, Ms. Abiru, now that you're on the show. So before we get to that question, first of all, talk to me about what you think the fundamental premise of the vice president was when he said, as for the exchange rate, I think we need to move our rates to be as reflective of the market as possible. This, in my own respective view, is the only way to improve supply. We can't get new dollars into the system where the exchange rate is artificially low. So what's your take on his fundamental premise that keeping the official rate lower or higher than the market rate will stop people from bringing dollars into the system?
Thanks, Sandra. So I think a useful place for me, if I was going to answer your question, is just reminding us of what the mandate for the central bank is, like why they exist in the first place, right?
Right.
And essentially, like the common wisdom is just that they exist to ensure that prices are stable. So that means keeping inflation between 6 to 9%. And they're also in charge of issuing the Naira, maintaining our foreign reserves, regulating the financial system, and essentially acting as a banker for the federal government, right? And it's really important to draw this out, because especially the part about inflation, because that's the main reason why central banks exist. And it's important to manage inflation just because of what the impact that we know, volatile price changes, what that impact then goes on to have on the economy, right? So if prices are changing too frequently, people will find it difficult to plan, like individuals, businesses. And so, like, let's take a baker, for example. Like, if she's not able to understand, like, okay, what the price of flour or sugar would be, she can't make any plans.
Right.
And so that then goes on to, like, reduce the amount of economic activity that's happening in the space, because people would, they can't plan. They don't know what the price of, like, goods would be in the future.
Right.
And so I bring that up because, that's meant to be the main focus of the central bank, and like how they go on to practice monetary policy. And the way that they tend to do this is, using a set of tools to control the money supply in an economy, right? And then they go on to use that to achieve, like, a combination of stable prices and steady economic growth that I was talking about earlier. And the common way that monetary policy is executed is through increasing and decreasing interest rates. So if you have a lower interest rate, then that's associated with more supply, like increased supply of money, higher borrowing, and more spending by consumers and firms. And so when we take all of that together, right, it's just thinking about, okay, what does all of this then have to do with the exchange rates? And the basic theory behind what drives the exchange rates is just, typical demand and supply. It tells us, like, when the market is in equilibrium, it tells us what the price of the currency would be. So people would demand dollars to import, and we also get a supply of dollars from foreigners, either through oil sales or, from the diaspora or investors. So if we're just going to leave everything to just happen naturally, there would then be that, like, volatility happening in the market.
Right.
And so that means that, Nigeria's supply of dollars will keep changing.
Right.
And that could then go to have an immediate impact on our exchange rates, which would then cause it to become very volatile. So this is not fun for anyone.
Right.
Back to what I was saying, it's just like, it's difficult for people to plan. Like, nobody would be able to predict the price at which they can exchange their currency. And then, that's also, like, another mechanism through which business activity is then discouraged. But then, the thing about it is, the question then goes back to, how do you then address this? So as a commodity exporting country like Nigeria is, the option typically is just to operate a fixed exchange rate regime where the central bank controls the supply of foreign currency in the market to keep the exchange rate fixed, so to speak. And essentially, like, by them doing this, and so like, that's just, like, one of the ways to do this. But what we then observe, like, when we think about Nigeria's context, is the fact that there's this it's more or less like going down that challenging route of manipulating forex demand while also trying to control supply. So maybe the idea there is, okay, if we can reduce the demand for dollars, then the CBN will not have to supply as much of it from the foreign reserves, which is where, the dollars are kept. But if you just think about it like Uber surge pricing, for example. Like, when Uber wants to set prices during, like, peak period, right? We have the drivers who, so if there are, like, not enough drivers in the market, but too many people, like, trying to request a ride, then you get, like, surge pricing going up. So then the market is essentially eliminating people who are then unable to pay. But, so that's, like, Uber basically controlling, like, the supply of riders. But then so just taking that back to CBN's case, if they're trying to manage both the supply and the demand side of things, then it's almost like you're trying to tell both the riders and the drivers how they should operate in the market.
Now, I hear that, right? But I'm looking at the CBN itself and the entire idea of liberalizing the exchange rate. What are the direct and indirect negative consequences of a devaluation?
Yeah, so I think the main thing to just note there is right now where we're currently at is there's a price that the Naira is set at. So that's like what the exchange rate is. I always like to say, I think something that we like to say in the Shares Business Newsroom is the exchange rate is not even real, right? It's just like how different countries like go on to price it's how different countries go on to like price their currency relative to another country's currency. And so like what this then goes on to reflect is, how much of your good how much of foreign goods can your currency go on to purchase. And so if you all of a sudden had a situation where today like your currency is where tomorrow like your currency is worth less than what it is today, the impact of that I guess like varies depending on it varies depending on like what the nature of your economy is, like what the makeup of your economy is. So something that we know is how the Nigerian economy is heavily dollarized. So 40% of like the economy is dollarized. And so the impact of that, like, the fact that, the fact that a lot of industries are import dependent, and so they that dependency on what the price of what the value of the Naira is compared to the dollars will have an impact on the price that we go on to pay for goods and services in the economy. So that's just like one of the main things that we can expect to notice.
We often hear Egypt used as a success story for devaluation. They did theirs a few years back. How has it worked for them? Why has it worked for them?
So I think the main thing to draw out there, like whenever you're thinking about like what price your currency should be, would be how much is that reflecting the realities of your economy. So if you have a situation, so that's one of the reasons why people say things like the parallel markets exist, because that falls outside of the purview of like what the central bank can basically control. Like they can't necessarily like dictate the prices that go on there. And so it's not so bad if you have a situation where your currency is aligned with what if your currency is essentially, if the value of the official exchange rate is different or diverges slightly from what the official market rate says. But then if it diverges too significantly, then it just basically calls into question like what exactly are the fundamentals that are underpinning your currency in this situation. So I think something that worked well for Egypt was the fact that just abandoning that commitment to just trying to defend a currency that is not supported by real market fundamentals, right? And so all of a sudden like government policy can then be directed towards more like productive means. Because what then happens if a central bank is so committed to like defending the price of a currency, there's certain restrictions that come into place. So for example, they're not able to use interest rates as freely as they normally would. Sorry about that. They're not able to use interest rates as freely as they normally would to kind of manage the economy, right? So if, for example, the economy was overheating, you wouldn't be able to increase interest rates to kind of like curb borrowing and spending in the economy, and the other way around as well. if you're also basically, I guess, like in Nigeria's case as well, if you're focusing on like demand management policies that are, aimed at like restricting the people's access to dollars, that also creates that like disruptive effect in the market.
Right now the CBN seems to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not enough forex to defend the naira, and perhaps not enough political will to float it. What options does the bank have? What do you think the smartest strategy for Nigeria's economy should be?
So whenever I want to answer that question, I think the main thing is challenging us to look outside of monetary policy. And the reason I say that is something that is widely accepted amongst a lot of economists is the fact that monetary policy is too blunt a tool to steer Nigeria out of a recession. Like, we have to think about the other set of policy tools that are available to us, that are in the government's arsenal, essentially. So things like fiscal policy can actually go a long way in addressing the more long-term structural issues that we face in the economy. And the reason I say this is monetary policy itself. The reason I say monetary policy is a blunt instrument is the fact that it gives your economy that short-term boost to output that is not necessarily sustainable. So essentially, like, if we just like increase money supply, then output would also increase temporarily. And then from there, extra spending would occur, and then that would go on to increase prices and wages. But eventually that spending will go back to its previous level, just because you've not really done anything to like almost change the shape of the economy, right? So then if you just keep doing this trick, so to speak, all you're just going to keep getting is short-term growth. And then that also continues to feed into inflation, which I talked about earlier as being, the main mandate of the central bank. So people will just constantly expect inflation, and prices will just keep increasing, and you're just back to the same starting point. So instead, like, what I would just want to say is, just challenge us to think about things like fiscal policy. So when I say that, it's just even looking at like how taxes, for example, can be used as a redistribution tool, a redistribution tool to, almost like you're getting revenue from you're even diversifying the source of your revenue. So you're not just depending on oil, which we know fluctuates it fluctuates constantly. So now you're thinking of a more stable source of income, but that obviously has to be implemented in the right way. So you don't necessarily want to have regressive taxes. And by that, I mean, taxes that place more of a burden on people who are on the lower income earning scale rather than those who are already like earning a lot of income. Then there's even policies that help you think about the supply side of the economy, right? So policies that help you almost like shift, that almost help you like create a bigger cake, right? So it's not just, like we're just going to keep dividing like the national economic cake amongst ourselves, but it's almost like, how can we be more productive? If we look at a sector like agriculture, for example, why is it that the employment share is essentially higher than the output that comes. So essentially the inputs that goes in is way higher than the outputs that comes out. So we're not even producing as much the resources that go into what we produce don't add up. So it's just those kinds of policies are the ones that we want to be thinking about. So it's just looking outside of monetary policy as a tool to steer Nigeria out of its current situation.
Fadekemi Abir is the new editor-in-chief at Steers Business. Fadekemi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right, Legals, that's all the time we have. I wish we had more, but we do not. Wemimo is here with the news at 6 o'clock. When she's done, Conversations with Rufai will take the air. You can listen to any of the conversations we've had today again on our website, nigeriainfo.fm, or via Spotify. Just search for Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili, and you can listen to every single thing you've heard on air, but we're not very sure you heard it very well like that via our podcast. podcasts. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili on social media. Those were your hard facts, Lagos. Have yourselves a fantastic evening.
Don't forget to listen to your number one station for talk anytime and anywhere. Just search Nigeria Info FM on the Apple App Store and on Google Play Store, and never leave home without us again. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Talk is what we do.
You know, the youth of Nigeria have historically been apathetic towards the electoral process. There's no way for the youth to participate in mainstream fields like oil and gas, banking, and so on. The youth are actively excluded from those fields. And so we just created our own way in tech.
Informed analysis, reliable, accurate.
We actually advocate you get your at least once a year. When you go for an eye check, the routine things they do for you is to check your visual acuity. Visual acuity is how good you see. A lot of us don't actually know that we don't see so well. But because, like I said earlier, we can count money, we think we're doing very well.
Your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.